Hello friends, happy Friday. Today is going to be a pretty chill, I think last time I called it what's in my work in progress box, but I think I'm just calling it like work in progress times. I've got a rather sizable, oh boy, a rather sizable bin. It is meant for like holding bottles of wine and such, but I bought it so that I can place it upside down on a table at a convention or a farmer's market or whatever, because verticality is very important. So it's my work in progress bucket. It's a literal bucket of works in progress. I've also included a smattering of them up here. This is an asexual whale, one of my pun creatures. This is going to be actually a little red dragon once I add the wings for Rem Alternus. Their logo is this red dragon sort of curled up around a world, and I'm going to be tabling with them at Origins Game Fair this year. So I'm bringing some plushies, which includes this nameless red dragon, and he's in the bin, but Fraggy, the anarchist unicorn, who's exactly what you would imagine an anarchist unicorn to look like. And then Seed Thief, who is a sort of trickster spirit who inhabits a chipmunk. Those are all coming with me to Origins, but I'm just going to be working on the nameless red dragon today. And then, of course, Pikachu. He needs his little red cheeks. But everything else is done. I'm also going to be chatting, as you've probably surmised from literally everything on social media this week, from like me and every other Etsy seller probably, although that may just be my algorithm, that we're going to be chatting a little bit about the Etsy strike. So for those of you who don't know, and I definitely will be like recapping this throughout the program, so get used to hearing it, is that in response to a variety of problems that some Etsy makers and sellers have with the website and the way they run their stuff, particularly incited by a fee increase for sellers that was on April 11th, decided to strike with a particular list of demands that is visible in my in the link in my bio. And there's been a whole lot of kerfuffle, both I think good and bad, like attention being raised to like what people are asking for, attention raised for people who don't think it's necessary or who like find that they're able to be successful on Etsy because of what Etsy has done, and aren't as affected by the problems that the folks who are striking have called to attention. There's just a lot. So in the most like safe, chill vibe I possibly can, I wanted to kind of chat about it a little bit. Full disclosure, I did take down my shop this week because I looked at the demands on the petition, which there are 5 of them. One of them is to revert the fee increase back from, they booted it up from 5% to 6.5%, after having recently, in 2018, moved it from 3.5% to 5%, which these all sound like minuscule numbers, I imagine. They sounded like minuscule numbers to me when I was starting in 2018, and I was like, this is not a big deal. But the real math of running a handmade business does mean that each cent counts. So for me, that extra, I think it's a 30% increase from 5 to 6.5 makes a big difference. And I did some math and I posted the math on social media. I did a little example with some Brunos, just to get an idea, both for myself and to share with other people. Because when the email went out several weeks ago, that was just like, hey, by the way, we're raising fees on April 11th. I went and did some math for myself, and also was considering the fact that I don't charge shoppers tax when I'm doing in-person stuff, even though I do pay tax for in-person stuff. Realizing that, like, and in Michigan it's 6% sales tax. Just realizing that all around I am not considering those extra little things that add up in the price that I set. So I had considered changing what the price is, particularly for my plushies, which, like, you cannot speed up the making of plushies, as I'm sure, like, I can't just make like 8 of these fins slightly faster by making them in a batch the way one could with like polymer clay jewelry or something, which is not to besmirch the genuinely talented artists making polymer clay jewelry, but handmade in general, you can only speed up the process so much, instead of just, like, I don't know, if you like buy and sell phone cases, you can just buy more phone cases, pending supply chain stuff, to be fair. But I'm getting off track. The first demand was to revert the fee increase. The second was, oh boy, I don't know what order they're in exactly, but one of them was to make the off-site ad program non-mandatory. So there's this, they started it in the pandemic, it was 2020. And for the context of all of this, which I think is the thing that is the real kicker for a lot of the folks who chose to strike, is that in 2020, I think Etsy made record sales, and then in 2021 it was doubled, if I'm remembering correctly. Again, more information is in the description, but like, Etsy was not wanting for money during pandemic times, which admittedly have continued to today, but like, you know, the core 2 years or so. But in 2021 they did the offsite ad program, which I was a participant in for a while, and I posted about that earlier today, where basically Etsy takes all of the stuff that is on its platform, like a plushie or a pin or jewelry or leather bags or whatever, and advertises on Google just like you would for like those t-shirts you see on Facebook, or all of the many targeted ads I'm sure that folks have gotten. 3, 4, 5, 6. So the way that they did it is that they would advertise sellers' products, and then if someone clicked on said ad and bought it, Etsy would charge the seller, I think it's 15% for sellers who make less than 10K a year, and 12% for sellers who make more than 10K a year, of the final purchase, which, like, honestly, if I didn't have to hand make every single thing that I sell, would be like a really good deal. Like, you don't have to pay for the advertisement unless someone buys it, and so there's not an upfront cost, and like, more of your stuff gets seen by people who are like looking for specific things. Like my Pikachu plushie could be seen by people who are looking for Pokemon stuff, and so they're more likely to buy it. And like, as a small seller, having someone else handle like marketing and stuff is really great, because like, time is extremely limited. But the problem is that that 15% cut only works well for some sellers, and after having done the math myself back in 2020, realized I was not one of said sellers. So I opted out, luckily, because I had the chance to do so. However, if you make more than 10K a year on the platform, which is well below the poverty line, you cannot opt out, which is one of the further demands of the Etsy strikers, is to be like, hey, let people not participate in this program if it's not working for them. And that's been called for since the very beginning of the offsite ads program. And that's a little bit, I would very much like for that to happen, because I feel like it just reflects a better respect for the folks who are operationally, though not legally, your workers on a platform. The next one is one that, frankly, I personally have never been affected by, but I know people who have, and so I am quite interested in making sure it doesn't occur again. Is that because of the sheer number of listings on Etsy, there are very many. Like, not everything can be manually looked at by humans, which makes sense. So there's a lot of like AI-based searching for like fraudulent listings, or like factory made, non-handmade stuff, or like copyright infringement or thing like that. Actually, I have been dinged for copyright infringement, but rightfully so I do not have any complaints to make. But the problem is that like trying to get those fixed when stuff gets wrongfully taken down has, for many sellers, taken like months and months to talk to a human person. And then, like, while the times when those are going on, oftentimes you do not have access to the income you've made on Etsy. And for people who are doing like full-time Etsy work, it just means you don't get paid for a month and a half or however long for your job, which is really, really debilitating for folks, especially when, as far as they can tell, they did nothing wrong, and then a computer has said you cannot do this anymore. And I feel like that's a particular frustration that most people can relate to. Like, I've known several people, myself included, who just like as people have just had PayPal or whatever kind of flag them and just say no to whatever it is, and so you've got money you are owed or have earned just sitting somewhere that a computer tells you is pending, which is not the best feeling. So then, as the third, is to introduce, I think it's called a golden support ticket for like to flag for people who like haven't had problems before and who are saying like, hey, this bot basically took down my listing and I don't know why, or for a reason that is not valid in this circumstance. Another program that they are calling for the end of, and this is a little mixed because when it works great, and when it doesn't work, it's really colossal, is the Star Seller program. So the Star Seller program just gives you a little badge next to your shop, tells people like, hey, this person's really good at what they do, their customer service is great, they respond quickly, they ship things out on time, they get lots of 5-star reviews, etc., etc. And I believe, though you would have to check me on this, prioritizes Star Sellers listings in search results, and search results are kind of like the thing for how stuff gets found, basically. Like, you've got your direct link to your shop, and then you've got people who search for like asexual plushie or what have you, who just find it at random, which is where most of my stuff comes from. But the thing about the Star Seller thing is that, like, because it cannot be reviewed by humans, because that's just an impossible task. They've got, I think it's 95% or better of like 5-star reviews or things shipped on time or responding to messages within 24 hours. I have never been in the Star Seller program for a variety of reasons. The primary of which is that I send a lot of stickers and they're flat. They go in a little envelope with a stamp on it. And if you've ever mailed something with a stamp and tried to figure out when it was getting to the place you were sending it to, you will know that stamps do not have tracking on them. And if there is not tracking, then Etsy cannot know that you shipped it on time, even if you tell them, because you could be lying. So I have like a colossally bad ship on time ranking just because I send a lot of stuff with stamps. I will say there is an option for like a flat shipping thing on Etsy, but it is, I think, $30 3 times as expensive as stamps where I'm shipping from. And also doesn't get tracked very much of the time because it's in the post office with a bunch of other envelopes that don't have tracking on them, and so they don't scan it. Because, like, why would you? You don't want to search through a bucket of envelopes to just find the one that you scan if it's going to get to the place. And, like, postal workers are already under a great amount of strain. So I do not expect that of them. So basically, unless you would like to send, like, a first-class package for your $3 sticker and charge a customer for that, that's out. And then the other thing for me is I have pretty strict boundaries for myself in terms of, like, work in general. Like, on my rest days, I don't check my emails. I don't get notifications from sell on Etsy. I don't, like, do other work-related stuff. So, like, tomorrow I'm going to be resting, and then on Sunday I'm going to be resting. So if someone messages me before, like, 9 a.m. Sunday, they won't get a response within 24 hours because I won't be on the platform. And that just boots me right on out. The other thing is, I have not personally had a problem with this, but I know it is a struggle for those who do, is that if a customer gets mad about something that is fixable, or that the error was not on the seller's end, whether it was on the postal service's end, or like a mistake or misunderstanding. One big thing I see amongst like crocheters is even if something like says, like, this is a pattern for a dragon, or this is a pattern for whatever, a sweater, and not a real sweater. It seems, unfortunately, that, like, no matter how clear, what am I doing? Oh, Pikachu cheeks. No matter how clear someone tries to make it, inevitably that will get missed. And I've done that too, as a person who's buying stuff. Like, I think I'm buying like, full bracelet that's custom made, but I'm buying, like, the beads to make the bracelet or something. And that's an error. But, like, when I make that error, I don't give the seller 2 stars because I'm upset that I misunderstood. 2, 3, 4, 5. Or one thing, I knew a seller who shipped plants, and oftentimes if the post office was experiencing any delays, the plants would be dead by the time they arrived, and that's not under the seller's control, but would often get many negative reviews for that. And then, of course, that gets you out of the star seller program, etc. But I will say that if, like, you don't encounter any of those, and, like, you do the work of diligently, like, responding to messages, and, like, based on what you make, you have the ability to ship things out with tracking consistently, and any of the problems you have with customers are able to be resolved well, then it's great, because then you can show, like, hey, I take this seriously, I respond to messages, I don't wait forever to ship things out. And you can communicate that to people, because, like, they're essentially buying something from a stranger. But unfortunately, a lot of the times it does not work. So the strikers are calling for the program to just be removed. That is the 4th one. And then the 5th one... Oh boy. Oh yes, the 5th one is actually the thing I have had the most personal issue with, not as a shop owner, but just, like, as a person who has feelings about how things should be run, you know, is something called resellers. So a lot of people have had this experience. I've had this experience of, like, here's this beautiful, like, custom handmade leather bag, and you're like, this, like, is so cool. I'm supporting this artist from New York. I'm getting a handmade bag for my, like, spouse or my friend or my whatever. And then it comes, and it, like, clearly comes from a factory. It's got a tag that says, like, made in wherever. That's not the place that they say they're shipping from or making from. and that is, to my knowledge, based on the stuff that I had to like click yes, 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 I'm handmade, I'm a person, not allowed. Just straight up not allowed. Because, you know, Etsy's vibe is handmade. It's like indie and folksy, and that's like what they're going for. And so one of their rules from the beginning has been, hey, actually, you gotta either hand make the stuff, or vintage sellers are allowed on there as well. I have no beef with vintage sellers, except for those who claim to be vintage when they are not, which are not true vintage sellers. But there is a lot of that, and it truly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doesn't get taken down very much. And many people have noticed that coincidentally it not only doesn't get taken down, but is also very, very profitable for Etsy. And there has not been a strong enough backlash from customers for it to be like a big problem. But it is a big problem, for example, for someone who is selling actual handmade leather bags, because now they have to compete with a price point of a factory made thing, or the like professional pictures of a factory made thing, or the ability to like make a ton of a factory made thing. And I will admit, I was aware of this sort of lenience, shall we say, and I actually, back in 2020, and I'm so grateful that I didn't actually end up bringing this to any like in-person events where I was at like the Handmade or Artist Alley or anything, and I didn't end up selling hardly any in the end. But I did find a bunch of like D&D and like Pokemon and other like themed pins and such on like a factory wholesaler website, and I bought them to resell. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great, I'm gonna make so much money, look at like how much I can sell these for, look how cheap they are, and just fully put them up on Etsy. Wasn't dinged at all. And then only later when I like heard more, and this particular wholesaler was like fairly well known for making like products out of stolen art. I saw several people who that had happened to, and then lo and behold, I found an artist who, as far as I could tell, I haven't made this claim anywhere, but as far as I could tell, it looked like they made the design that I was selling. And I was like, oh no, I cannot do this. So I took it down of my own volition, thankfully. But there are a lot of folks who haven't got to that point yet, and could use some help from Etsy Legal, perhaps. And that's the thing that bothers me most, I think, because it sort of undermines I'm looking at a pattern, but I'm still chatting. It undermines sort of the initial claims that Etsy made. And there is a history there of like Etsy going public, and then I believe the original makers or the original creators not being in full control, and then not being able to like follow up to their initial vision fully. But you would have to read more about that, because I truly do not know. But it does undermine that, and it undermines people. Luckily, it's hard to, I don't think machine crocheting is possible, frankly. So that's very helpful for me. But it does undermine people who do choose to make things by hand and don't break the rules, you know? And it really gets me. Also, drop shipping is definitely a thing that happens, which is understandable, if personally to me kind of questionable at times on other platforms, but definitely not allowed on Etsy, though it is very prevalent. However, so quick review. The 5 things that those who are striking on Etsy, including myself, are asking for are to switch the fee increase back, to end the star seller program, to make the offsite ad program non-mandatory, to prioritize sellers who are affected by like bot takedowns of their stuff, and to make sure that resellers, I think the language they chose was crack down on resellers, but just to make sure that there are not as many people like selling factory made goods or dropship goods on the Etsy website, which is designed for handmade and vintage. But I will also say that I've had some conversations with folks who do Etsy either full or part-time, and have like considered going to other places, but like things like Shopify have really big upfront costs, and that can just not be viable. And so for many people, like, because the like fees are lower than in other places, and they do have some good systems in place, like when the review system works, it's great because and I can speak to this as well, because I have received maybe 2 4-star reviews and the rest have been 5, and people have been really, really receptive about, like, if I make an error, I'll send them a new whatever, and they'll give me a positive review and say like, hey, the seller was willing to like correct their mistake, or like be really effusive and happy about like a custom commission or something that worked out really well that they liked. And I think that is cool, and I think that the system they have that like prioritizes that works really well. I'm sure it's an algorithm somewhere that's like, here are relevant reviews to the product you're looking at. So when it works well, it's really great. And then also things like not having an upfront fee is really nice. For example, Shopify has like an upfront fee, and like relatively inexpensive individual listing fees is great because you can like put a lot of things up in your shop. So like there's a reason, and they've done a lot of work from like a marketing and PR perspective to make sure that people come to the website. But they've not done a lot of work. Hang on, let me see how many stitches. 2, 3. I feel like this is enough. I feel like this is sufficient. Okay. I don't remember if my Cthulhu pattern has this wing on it. I'm making a wing for the dragon. I've been following the wrong pattern the whole time. Drink break, I think. Oh, this is mint tea, by the way. Yeah, I truly do not remember what I was talking about before I got distracted. Oh, Etsy has done a lot of marketing to like position themselves well. How did I make that wing? In terms of like a global marketplace of like online sellers and things. But one thing they notably haven't done well on is like sort of they're in trying to do things like compete with Amazon. I'm just starting over. Like I think the 2020 holiday season was when I began to notice some like Amazon-esque like buy a gift from Etsy ads that definitely leaned on the like there are custom options. It's like you could feel good about buying from an artist handmade, but like I think it brought a lot of people to the platform who like don't have an understanding that like There is not an Amazon behind Etsy. It is truly a connection of mostly individual, mostly part-time sellers who are just like making stuff. And so sometimes like they don't have the ability to like answer 27 messages in a day, or they don't have the funds to like send you a different size of a bracelet if you ordered the wrong size. I'm in the Etsy Strike Discord, which has been very educational, just to see like other people's experiences. And someone was talking about a customer who bought a bracelet and was upset that it was not the size in the photo, despite the fact that they had selected the size from a drop-down box, and there was in the description like exact measurements for each of the sizes, which again, I've super done that as a customer and been like, oh, I wasn't looking at the thing. But also, you know, not something to ding someone else on if it's your error. All right, I'm gonna have to focus on this wing for a little bit. Oh, thank you, Angela. I don't know if you're a big pattern user, but I will post patterns for some of these at one point. I've also never heard it referred to as finger work, which makes me feel extremely artistic. So thank you. Also, thank you for joining. Any other folks who would like to say hi, you are more than welcome to as well. Oh, I've made an error. Okay, here we go. Starting over. Okay, I'm not going to talk about Etsy for like 10 seconds as I figure this out. Do share any questions that you would like answered, though. Or any tales of your own if you are an Etsy seller or buyer. To chain. Oh, I've made it. I see what I've done. I just spaced the little spikes out too much. Skip stitch. Oh. Slip. Sometimes I like take shortcuts in my notations, which means that when I don't take shortcuts, I sort of assume the shortcut backwards, if that makes sense. Here we go. Here's a nice little wing. I made the, I have like a rounded wing that I use for Mothman. But I wanted to do like a little spike wing for Cthulhu, because that's much more the vibe than like a round feathery. Yeah, so these are going to be the wings for the yet unnamed Rem Alternus dragon. Okay, now that I could figure that out, I could do some more Etsy chatting. So my Etsy story is that, of course, I started crocheting in 2017, and I opened a shop in March of 2018, if I'm remembering the date correctly, but it was 2018. I did my first person event in June of that year. It was very, very fun. I was learning a lot and very much didn't know what I was doing. That was 5 years ago. I'm going to be posting more. I did a little bit of like looking back to photos from that time of like my work, including some commissions from Angela, actually. Like I made a little Pride Stegosaurus, which was quite something to try and do. But 5 years ago, I was just doing it for fun, but of course did not oh no, I love the way that you phrased it. It sounds very formal and precise, like something you would say to someone at like a music college or an art college or something. Like, did you see that flute recital? I love her finger work. It's just, her skill is amazing, you know, something very posh. But people were like, hey, you should start an Etsy, because that's what was on people's minds. as like a viable handmade thing. And this was as the sort of gig economy was really ramping up. 6. I think I did 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did 5. 6. And so I did. I opened a shop. It was really easy, actually, because I had already been selling some old textbooks on eBay. Love a happy little Ghibli tune. So it was not difficult to implement. And I made basically no sales. But really enjoyed the process and like taking pictures and posting stuff and categorizing it. And then once I got into like amigurumi plushies, because of in-person events, really started to use it more and more. There were times where I considered using other platforms, particularly Go Imagine is one where all of the proceeds go to charity, and I thought that as a concept was really really neat. And so like anytime that like I was worried about like, oh, what about this fee or that fee, like if I knew it was going to like a good cause, I felt comfy with that. So skip slip stitch. Okay. But again, that was a sort of upfront cost thing. And also, frankly, it takes a lot of time to re-upload. Like for this guy, I would have like handmade red dragon, maybe have some tags about Dungeons and Dragons or something else fun. I would have to like find all my pictures. I would have to include how tall it was. I'd have to include the price point. I would want to include different sizes, even though I haven't made big guys yet. Oh, I should make a big red dragon. Yeah, that's what's going to happen at the end of the stream if I get through all of these. But it's just a lot of effort. Like, it's hours and hours of work, even though it's very tedious work. But your hours and hours are fairly limited when it comes to being a small business owner. Because, just, you gotta do all the things. Like, it's tough. You gotta do all your social media postings and do all your SEO taggings and do all your picture taking and all your art making and all your planning and all your event fees and emailing people and seeing what events are available and contacting customers for this and that and etc. etc. The list goes on. So switching or even having like a secondary presence on something like Go Imagine wasn't the most viable. So I simply did not do it. However, I haven't been posting about this, but if you've looked at my Redbubble shop at all, link in the description, I have really been adding a lot of designs to that, which Redbubble isn't handmade, but it is like artist based. So you can like upload your like mandrake design, and then they can stick this little guy on a t-shirt or a mug or a backpack or a notebook or whatever. So if people like really want, so they also do stickers and buttons, but those are much more hand makeable, clearly. So that is nice too, for multiple reasons. One, there's only on the artist side like a one sort of bit of work at the outset where you like type in like, this is a mandrake, here are all the tags for the mandrake, here's the exact size and the image, and then you do have to do a little bit of tweaking, like make sure it fits on like the mug and the size is different on the mug than it is on the shirt and such, which takes time. But then once you've done that, all of the income is what's called passive, which means like you do not have to do anything, and if people buy your stuff, you will get paid a percentage for it. And it makes me much comfier than like ordering my own merch does too, both because I have no idea of like what I make Like, maybe people really want mandrakes on a notebook, but they really don't want mandrakes on a mug. I have no idea. And I don't want 15 mandrake mugs that I don't have any use for. But then also on the like custom printing, print on demand, I think is the exact wording, end of things. Sorry, my partner is outside doing something. But it's also really good from like it's better than mass printing on a eco-friendly side of things, because like the only things that are made are the things that have already been bought and not things that will sit in a warehouse or go on a sale rack or etc., etc. I've not been on the platform long enough or talked with enough people to know any of the downsides yet, because I'm sure there are many. I think Shopify and various, like Squarespace has like shopping integration on their websites, and Big Cartel or others. Sorry for free advertising. I'm talking about stuff I know, I suppose. Are also options for folks, but that's again, like none of those are handmade specific, and so what you would have to rely on in those cases is like directly interfacing with customers to like get them to love your stuff and to like buy it directly from your website instead of like going to although I think Shopify and Big Cartel might have, I don't know a lot about them now that I'm speaking aloud, but like something like a Squarespace site, which I did dabble in for a month in the pandemic, and I promoted it a lot, and then it didn't get any hits, so I was done. Slight pause to enjoy this little red dragon guy. Look at him go. Look at them go. I don't think this dragon is particularly gendered, because the red dragon of Rem is not gendered. Ugh. Them. I'm gonna get my green dragon next. Yeah, I created a yeah. I created a sort of, this is my usual head, sort of ball shape that I use. Sorry for the plosive there. But then I created an alternate version of the head shape with like a little snoot on it. This actually did enable me to get the wordle last week, which was snout, and I greatly appreciated that. Well, one of the wordles last week was snout. So once you've got the head part and the body with the little feet on it and the tail, this is all one piece. I might make some more later. But you can also sit. Beep. Or like axolotl style, just hang out. Then you've got the little ridge that you got to put up on the back, and then the wings. And this looks appropriately dragon-like as opposed to like a dinosaur, or who knows. To me, to my eye. I'm sure there are things I could add. Here's my extremely sketchy notes. Goodbye, Mandrake. So I'm gonna make the spikes. Unless anyone has any additional like Etsy questions, I think I've like gone over most of the thoughts, but if I missed anything or if you have specific questions, let me know. Until further notice, I will be talking exclusively about this dragon. So this is 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Okay. So each individual spike, in crochet you kind of work along a little thing. So I'm going to skip one, and then in the same one do a single crochet, do a double crochet, do a little chain to make this spike shape rather than like a round, even though it is fairly rounded. Maybe I'll do two chains. I'll do 2 chains. Just switch things up. Really go on a limb here. And then single crochet. Skip. Slip stitch. And then, see, here's the thing. Usually when you've got some, or not usually, usually when I've got some sort of like ridge thing with shells or spikes or any sort of bump, 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 I skip a stitch on either side. What? How did I do this? But sometimes I only skip a stitch on one side, and that really throws me off. So that is what I have done in both the wings and this thing. So I gotta be real careful. No! Wait, I haven't. I don't know how to read. Okay. Yeah, I think a double chain is probably best for like a proper spike. Look at that. That's a real spike. These are a little bit round, which is also very cute, I will admit. However, dragons are not cute. They are fierce. I like to think that some of my more like myths and monsters-y plushes, like, I don't know, Cthulhu or whatnot, have a very strong like small dog who thinks he is a very dangerous dog. I've actually seen that a lot more in just like, you know, when they're like barking at you like, I am the most ferocious thing that has ever existed, and it's so cute because of how small they are and how not ferocious they are, but you want them to think they are so ferocious and strong, and so you tell them, oh no. Man, I love little dogs. I want to pet a dog. But that is the energy I get from some of my little guys. I have been experimenting with more of like these kinds of chibi doodles. That's very small Bruno from Encanto from a few weeks ago. Maybe it was last week, the passage of time. I've been experimenting with doing like those chibi style designs for lots of different characters. Before the Madrigals, I did a bunch of my friends' Dungeons and Dragons characters, and some of them it's like, this is a half ogre barbarian, or this is like a bugbear like undead, or, you know, this is a drow rogue who's the worst. I'm not sure if Jarlaxle's a rogue. If anyone knows Jarlaxle lore from Forgotten Realms, tell me. But all of them just look extremely cutesy because of how I drew them. They all have little smiles like that. You can see the little smile. Even though canonically many of them have just never smiled. So I think I'll share those at some point. I did for my younger players just sort of a array, like, you know, those like really long posters of like, here are all the Marvel characters, or here are all the My Hero characters, or what have you. I just did here are all the youth Dungeons and Dragons characters, except I missed some, which was a crime. The party literally for 2 years has had a NPC named George. George cannot talk because George is a chicken who they really wanted to keep. So George was blessed by Corlon Laurenthian. And so now George is a level 11 paladin. But I forgot to draw George. I drew all the other party NPCs. So I'll have to add George back in. But I do think it's really fun drawing, and I've made a lot of plushies also of people's D&D characters, and there's something particularly like joyful about that, of like we have this shared storytelling experience, and like we all know this character well and love them, and like even if you describe them and tell all the fun stories, as many people do to me. My most recent one was Antonio, who is a wizard elf from a campaign that I've done several characters for, actually. One moment. So that was fun. You can see pictures of Antonio on my social medias in the description. He's got several layers. He's got like a big hooded coat, or like a hooded jacket, and then like a long cape-ish overcoat thing that's very regal. It's got gold edges. That was really fun to do. But all that to say is I really love making people's characters, whether D&D or otherwise. Spicy Souls A, I think is how you pronounce their username, or soul, is now a sort of buddy of Janet T. Craftily, because his character, Albatross, who's like this cool, like, just like, I think robot friend. Albatross is really adorable, and you should go follow. Soul was one of the like Trans Day of Visibility people, and so you can see their art, and find some art of Albatross. But yeah, I just think that games are neat. Alright, I do want to try. I've done okay in getting this like ridge thing all the way down to the tail. Which is working pretty okay. I think I would rather hit it at a specific point on the head and get it a little fudged on the tail than vice versa. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to bring the non-red dragons to Origins, but I will certainly bring the non-red dragons to many events. I got my first event of the year in 2 weeks, in 2 days. I'm going to be at the Fulton Street Farmers Market in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I went to this same farmers market in November, where it was actually really, really warm outside. That was fun. But it was also just a really cool vibe. Lots of like donations for local charities, both like monetary and food based. Sorry, hang on, let me get this silly little strand being taken. Lots of different like kinds of like artists and sellers there. It was like a maker centric farmers market. Oh, I need wings. So I will be there. I will be bringing primarily plushies because I'm gonna be doing a jewelry blitz in May for all of my Pride events, which is Kalamazoo Pride, Lowell Pride, Holland Pride, and I think I'm forgetting something, but c'est la vie, I suppose. So I will be bringing many plushies. If my experience last time is to be believed, there will be many kids there on a Sunday morning/afternoon, and they will be very excited about Pikachu and Among Us and Kirby and many others. Probably I'm gonna make a bunch of the Encanto characters as well. 1, 2, 3. So many Brunos. I'm gonna make all of the Brunos. I'm gonna make Brunos with green eyes. I'm gonna make Brunos with black eyes. I'm gonna make big Brunos. I'm gonna make small Brunos. Here, let me see if I can get the beginning of a big Bruno. here's the beginning of Big Bruno. I ran out of this color of yarn, so he's not finished, obviously. But he's gonna have a little poncho. Maybe I'll even make little rats. I need to make a bunch of, like, I don't know how to describe the shape, but like possums and rats and like lemurs and like long animals with like a big tail. Because I haven't done like that kind of design like since I did the whale. Alright, before I do the wings, I'm going to take a quick break. I will be back. I have returned. I'm gonna start clearing off the already finished plushies. These are all sort of shoved up. Here we got the asexual whale, we got a Pikachu, we got an unnamed red dragon, the Rem dragon? The red Rem. No, that sounds like a Shining reference. And then I'm going to get the next batch, which includes Fraggy. I'm very excited about Fraggy. Alright, I'm going to look up a reference image for Fraggy, but that's a problem for future Janity. Thank you all for being with me today, being kind as ever. I was a little nervous to do to do like a strike adjacent stream, because I know there's been a lot of like conflict, particularly between like sellers who feel very strongly that the strike is like the only justifiable thing to do, and sellers who feel very strongly that like the strike is undermining the place that like sellers have for everyone, and it's a little messy. So I was hoping to not to not incite any of that. I'm glad it has not been incited. I've had good conversations with like people who are and aren't participating. And I think my main thing is that like I was already going, like, because I got the fee increase email, like I was already planning to increase my prices based on that, and I was like, well, doing that now feels really like, it does feel like undermining the work of the people who are trying to get like better conditions for sellers by just doing the thing that was expected. So I decided to not just wait until after the strike occurred, but participate in it so that I could try my darndest to make it so that I didn't have to raise prices for people, because that just felt right. And I did genuinely have, as I stated in the first 30-ish minutes of this stream, some issue with some of the other things. I personally dislike the like free shipping guarantee prioritization, but that ship has well and truly sailed. I think from, what was that, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Skip, no skip. Wow, these spikes are really something. But skip. 2 chains. Yay. Okay. Alright, we do not need the red anymore. Drink break. Oh, this is a good vibe. I will say I'm very much looking forward to... I have 2 rest days this weekend. I usually only have like 1 or 1.5 because I do work at my church, which makes it hard to not work on a Sunday. But this Sunday is Easter, which is very exciting, both for like personal spiritual reasons and also for the fact that the kids that I normally look after downstairs will be upstairs partying with everyone. And so I will just simply not do any work that day in celebration. But yeah, I have been a little tough on myself, particularly this week, because oftentimes I will be able to like just chill, crochet, work on an order. But I've had a bunch of like projects to do and like little conflicts and things. I'm totally fine. Just I've got a variety of organizations who are all going through their own stuff. And I think I will very much need a 2-day break. I will say this is the first Easter that I've had Animal Crossing. And I'm really glad to know that several other people find Zipper the Bunny Day Bunny absolutely terrifying. Zipper looks like a Five Nights at Freddy's character, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Oh man. I will be playing Animal Crossing for just my personal chill. My chill time this week has mostly been Animal Crossing, Justice League, and Devil House, which is a video game, a TV show, and a book. Devil House is real good. It's by John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats. And it is most assuredly not like happy fun reading. It's kind of a thoughtful a thoughtful portrayal, that's probably accurate, of what it's like to read and write true crime, which I have always been sort of like, it's something something feels off about it to me, as like a thing that I could read and have tried to read or listen to or etc. And it's a very fascinating book with some really cool like experimental stuff in it, and I love experimental writing, both with like format and style, and it's mostly format, which is my favorite. But I think I really need to like read consistently, because so much other stuff is like, I feel like it's adding things to my brain, and when I read I feel like my brain is coming up with things, and then the reading is going into my brain, and it's like a cycle instead of just like shoving, if that makes any sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I will try to get, I'm about halfway through Devil House right now, and I'll try to get further through it on this glorious Easter weekend. Also, happy Good Friday. I forgot it was Good Friday today. To all who celebrate, of course. I did see someone used the term "to all who celebrate" to refer to a convention that was in town. It was Marmalade Dog. It's a gaming convention in Kalamazoo. They were like, "Happy Marmalade Dog to all who celebrate," and I thought that was both very conscientious and very funny. So I'm considering using "to all who celebrate" as a general term and not simply like a religious holiday adjacent one. Okay. 2. I should write down that I'm adding a chain stitch in here. I'm very behind on my I have about 2 notebooks that just haven't been put in digital form yet at all. No, not skipping. Thank you. And I could lose them very easily, and also I could have someone ask for a pattern very easily. Neither of which would help each other very much. One other thing I did want to say is that Ribbler has been absolutely stellar. I uploaded several of my patterns to their very cool interface a while back, and I've sold like a handful. I've sold about as many patterns digitally on Ribbler as I have on Etsy. But the way that their like pattern thing works, both for people who are making with it and for people who are like selling patterns with it, is stellar. They have just like created this super cool tool that like made me want to learn to knit more, which is a small miracle. It's just like, it's designed by people who actually knit and crochet, and I think so has been added, who like know what's helpful to have and know the experience of like sitting on a couch with a tablet or whatever, trying to look at the pattern and like knowing you need to keep track of where you are, you need to be able to look up stitches, you need to be able to convert things from like centimeters to inches and from like UK terms to US terms, and it's just absolutely brilliant. And they had a great response to the choice by Etsy to increase their seller fees, to create an option where if you send someone a direct link, I think there are very minimal or no seller fees, which I just think is a little cheeky, but in a very pleasant way and thoughtful. And they've also included several other like cool programs, and all of the times that I've like asked for like help or assistance, I've gotten a person to talk to me very quickly and tell me exactly what I needed to do. And I have no beef against Ravelry, but and I have used Ravelry as a customer buying patterns, but my attempts to upload patterns to Ravelry have not gone well. They have a very specific criteria for how you post stuff, and it's not very open to like additional resources. Like, I was asked not to promote my YouTube channel when I like posted a link to a tutorial, so that is not where I will be putting my stuff. But again, no beef against Ravelry. Oh, green dragon. I do want to make dragons of all colors. I was trying to think of plushies that I can make in multiple colors, like dragons, because for a table it's really nice to have like a rainbow of colors, which works great. Like, if you've got a bunch of Pride merch, you're golden. You've got rainbows, it's fine. Every color is there. But if you've got a bunch of like white unicorns and brown chipmunks and gray mice and other like not very colorful eye-catching stuff, having like an array of dragons to bring in people who do want to perhaps purchase a gray mouse or what have you. I think first I'm gonna sew the ears on. So here's what's happening. Here's the body of Fraggy. He's wearing black clothes with his white legs, hooves. This is Fraggy's head and Fraggy's ears. I do need to make a unicorn horn, but I forgot what color it is. And then I'm gonna add a mane down the back, kind of like I did with the dragon spikes. Ooh, I also need to embroider. Let me get a rough image for Fraggy. Alright, Fraggy has an anarchy tattoo on his left arm. There's a lot going on with Fraggy. You should really look up Fraggy the Unicorn, Fraggy. It's truly something. This is the most, yeah, it's a very striking design. I'm not going to do the full symbol because that's not going to show up very well, but I will do the A, which will show up pretty well. So, one side, two side, and across. That looks kind of like an A. I'll take it. And now I have to decide whether I'm going to use the white or the black to sew it on. I think I'm going to use the white, which means I'm going to remove some of those stuffings so I can... Whoop. Yeah, if you're wondering where all the little scraps go, into the next one. Although I can only use like colorful yarn scraps when there's like a darker, like a black or a dark green. If I were to put colorful scraps in here, you could see the colors through the white yarn, which is not ideal. I'm also, in a second, after I get these ears on, gonna pick out colors for the mane. It's like a very typical, like rainbow, but with a lot of bright colors, especially the bright blue. So I'm gonna try to find those. And then, try to be conscientious about time. I think we're gonna do a Squirtle. A lesbian, and then see where we're at. We've got partially made Squirtles and lesbians, which you can see in the thumbnail. And by we, I mean me. Okay. Now, I'm not 100% on these ears. These are just a variation of the deer ears. And I really do want to make it look like a horse because I feel like the Kelpie that I made didn't super look like a horse, even though it's supposed to be like part horse, part mer person. A water horse, if you will. Haha. And I think I've been playing too much Animal Crossing because I want all of my little critters to look like the Animal Crossing equivalent, and I shouldn't do that because that is not how designing your own stuff works. I will also say that I have a hippo, the villagers amigurumi made, and Hippo just moved into my island, so not to brag, but Hippo is very cool. Has a little grand piano in his home. I feel like Hippo and Azalea are kind of meant to be a set because they have a similar... They're both French hippos with refined palettes. Or wait, I think Azalea's a rhino. Dang it. Now I can't remember what Azalea looks like. I also have Spike, who is definitely a rhino. I just really like rhino and hippo shaped villagers. Like, I will never ask one of them to leave. They're just very pleasant. I also like goats. I made a sherb for someone. And I've got Nan on my island. I also watched a very interesting... Now we're in ramble mode. If you have Etsy questions, ask them. Or you're going to hear about Animal Crossing for the next 45 minutes. I watched a video of Tim Rogers, greatest video game reviewer of our time, doing a pre-review of Animal Crossing New Horizons, which was fascinating. Both as like a discussion of Animal Crossing and New Horizons, but also as like a like the concept of a pre-review, of like there being enough information to be able to talk about a game and its impact and its place, is just really wild. Like, it's accurate for a lot of games, but it's still really wild to me. Okay, we're cutting this little snip off. I suppose if I had... Oh, I don't like these ears. Ha. Maybe it'll look better. I can take them off later and sew new ones. Yeah, I will say these Fraggies are only going to be available at Origins, because, like, I got permission, but someone other than me designed Fraggy for, like, a small game company called Fraggin' Unicorn Games, and it feels weird to just have those available. Like, it's much different with, like, a baby Yoda. Honestly, the, like, stitched together thing works really well for this sort of, like, punk look for Fraggy. I'm not putting a cigarette in Fraggy's hand, because that's just not viable from a crafting standpoint. Also, oh yeah, that looks really cool. I'm gonna lean into the patchwork thing on this for sure. Okay, and the horn is also white for some reason, so I guess we'll just make a white horn leader. All right, we got the tattoo, we got the horse neigh. Now we need the mane. So red, orange. We need a bright yellow. Do you have a bright yellow? You have a bright yellow. Yellow, green, and blue. See, every rainbow I make is slightly different. This is sort of the, like, neon lighter rainbow. And it looks like what I'm gonna do is probably a tail and then a mane. So I'm probably gonna do like 2 stitches each of each color, so 10. Hold the phone 1 second. Alright, well, I was really hoping to be able to find the exact color. But I'll just use red. That's fine. With a long, long tail for sewing. So 10. I'm going to make them real loose. I'm not going to use a 4.5 hook. This 6 will do. So your hook size makes your stitch size different, and usually you'll want to use like a hook that approximately 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then tie off. So here's the first little fringe, I think. Boop. Ha ha. Oh boy. My old bones. Usually you like this would call for a 5.5 millimeter hook. It's worsted weight yarn. For amigurumis I use a 4.5, so it's a little tighter. If you want bigger, you can go more. You can only do so much with it, but it's still effective. Okay. Yeah, I think like 3-inch little tassel. That's probably, don't even need that much. I really want it to work with 4 of Janity's fingers. So I'm going to use about half of this for the mane. Maybe a third of it for the mane and a third of it for the tail. Or 2/3 of it for the mane and 1/3 of it for the tail. Okay, this is nothing. So this is tail. Here's, so if we do it in thirds, we can do 1/3 in stitch 1, 1/3 in stitch 2, and 1/3 in stitch tail. Oh gosh, oh dear, oh my. Okay, I guess I don't do tassels a lot, so I don't super know the best way to do it. I know that loop stitch has worked well for me in the past, but it's going to be a little more action-packed. So a tie, I think. And then maybe, sorry, I didn't mean to accidentally flip y'all off. Just sort of tie it. I remember also disliking tassels as a child because I never looked as nice as I wanted them to, and they definitely never looked as nice as they did in the craft books. Okay, you're done. One, two. Okay. Hopefully this works. If not, that's okay. Failing or not doing exactly what you wanted while on stream is a viable way to discover what exactly you want to do. Alright, so here is the next color. Sorry, kids are getting out of school around this time. There's lots happening. I do have a window right in front of where I stream, and so I can just look and see what the heck is up with my neighbors. Alright. I do also kind of want to do the Fraggy. He's got like a big toothed smile going on. I don't know a way to do that without making it look totally creepy in a yarn version. I don't want Fraggy to look totally creepy. Oh, I love this song. I know it's played a couple times, but it gets me. Okay. Ha ha ha. There you go. I also remember being fascinated by rug tassels as a child. Just like little tassels on the end of rugs, and like how they would get eaten by hang on, vacuum cleaners, and like how they were attached and things like that. It's just the moments that are like, she'll probably do crafts when she, well, I did crafts as a child, but I also do crafts as a grown-up. All right. Then another. This is turning out better than I was anticipating, actually. Although I will say it is fairly time consuming for the price point I'll probably put this guy at. But that's okay. I will figure it out. Maybe I will raise the prices for all the plushies and then add some little doodads to the other guys. Okay, green is next. Here we go. Got a third for the tail. Ish. I think it's slightly more. And then a third each for the mane. The nice thing about doing this on stream is that I can go back and see how long the mane took me. So I will know if it's really that much longer or if it just feels that much longer because it's not active crochet time. I'll say the more a project requires me to do something other than crochet, the more time I think it takes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I sewed for so long. It was 15 minutes, you know. So I gotta click back to see what's happening. Okay, y'all can still see. That's important. Okay, then the last color is blue. I might have to look up my, oh, hang on. I might have to look up my unicorn horn pattern, because I have one, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. Sometimes I have patterns like very nicely in mind. I was like, oh yeah, it's easy. I just and then I do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hang on, my phone's going off. I took a nap around this time yesterday. Oops. I have no memory of what I was saying. If you recall and would like to prompt me, please do, but no pressure. Yeah, there probably should be a purple in here, but there is no purple in the Fraggy image. So I suppose I am not beholden to add a purple. All right. I'm gonna grab some white to sort of grab the tail bits, and then some red to make the tail into a tassel of sorts. Actually, that's fine. We don't need a tassel. Look, it's perfect. Okay. Yeah, this is one that I probably would, like, specifically, when I know people are shopping for, like, kids or animals, like young kids. Happy Friday. When I know people are shopping for kids or young kids or animals or any other individual who might have trouble with yarn coming off, for like bits like this, I would just be like, don't get this unicorn, and point them to something that's like sewn more securely, because this, if you tug on it enough, will super come off. Also, welcome Tom. I'm making Fraggy the unicorn, if you couldn't tell. Oof, there we go. We did a little bit of chatting about Etsy stuff earlier, but if you do have any particular questions, literally what I'm here for. The basic gist is that those who are striking have a few issues with some of the things that sellers are required to do on the Etsy platform that is particularly not geared well toward handmade makers, which is, you know, the people who are doing stuff. Oh yeah. Oh, this is a mighty mane. Yo. Okay, this looks like this unicorn looks like he's about to wreck some stuff. And I am, yeah, I love this. This ended up being way more punk than I was expecting it to be, and I was expecting it to be pretty punk. Wow. I had a suspicion that if one had any familiarity with Fraggy the Unicorn, then this would be it. For those who are not aware of Fraggy, Fraggy is the sort of logo hype unicorn for Frag and Unicorn Games, which very soon will be coming out with a Kickstarter for a new Misspent Youth book. And I actually, a week from today, will be playing in a Misspent Youth game over at twitch.tv/Master of Rem, I think. Oh yeah, that is, yeah, super the main of an anarchist punk. Like, this isn't what I thought it would look like, but it is exactly what it should look like. I actually also really like, I originally thought about having this like bass part not be, just be like white to blend in, but then I thought it should be red for funsies, and it was a great choice. I do not know how else to put it, but this is what Fraggy should be as a unicorn, as a being. I have pictured the platonic ideal of Fraggy plush in my mind. Yes. Okay. I'm actually gonna weave this fringe back through so that we don't have an extra little red on the end. Okay, now that I'm looking at the tail, I do think it's gonna split funny. I suppose you would know best if you stared at Fraggy long enough. You know. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, I'm having way too much fun. Okay. Okay. Got a unicorn haircut. Not too much. Because Fraggy's a wild guy. Yeah. Wow. Okay, I do not even care what the ears look like anymore. I spent a great amount of time earlier pontificating about how the ears didn't look right. And I straight up don't care anymore because of how cool everything else looks. I feel like there's a lesson to be learned there. Oh, let's scooch it out. It's a little more of a tassel. Oh dear. Yeah, I'm afraid to break things. There we go. Ha! A mighty tail. Tail trim. Alright. Now I am going to have to look up... Totoro. Oh, that looks cool. Sorry, I'll stop. Humble bragging. I'll have to look up my unicorn horn pattern on my computer. So I'm going to stare right at all y'all for a second. It's really fun trying to guess what I've named my pattern files. For example, the unicorn horn pattern is in a file I've named Chunky Chibi Amigurumi, which contains several of the like this style of chibi rather than this style, which I don't do unicorn in anymore. But when I first did it, I did. So, what do you think? I think maybe a different colored white for the horn to like offset it. Let me look back at Fraggy. Yeah, it's just the same color white as the rest of the... That's okay. I'll go grab that color. Oop. One more thing. getting future projects for the last stretch of the stream. Cool. Now let's see if this unicorn horn works even a little bit for Fraggy. One, two, three. Actually, no, I'll be okay. No, I won't. I'm trying to think of how much yarn I should have left over to sew the horn to the body, and the answer is always more than you think. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as a base. Whenever I do something pointy, I like to start at the wider part, because inevitably whenever you make something smaller in crochet, it ends up looking a little pointy anyway. So you might as well use it to your advantage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And just build on top. See, the difference between doing like a base versus a magic loop is with a base you want a little bit of like a loop in there, versus like if you start a magic circle, it's like the beginning of the snout. Like, there's no space. You want to be able to stuff it. And we would like a little bit of a loop so we can stuff the horn with floof, stick it right on. This might be a little too intense for this little guy, but then we'll have an extra unicorn horn in white, but we'll have an extra unicorn horn. Okay. I'm also trying to think about more ways to make this look as much like an anarchist punk unicorn as possible, which is my favorite sentence I've said today. So now I'm thinking of like all of these like stitches and ways to do it, you know. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh goodness, 6, 7, okay, 1, 2, all right, and then one little decrease, which is going to give a bit of a point. And then, see, you got a point. There's a Game Grumps clip. There are two guys in Game Grumps presently, Danny and Aaron. And Aaron's kind of a chaos monster. There's a clip of him screaming at Danny, "Did you point?" And he means, "Did you score?" But it's like 3 a.m. Wild things happen on that channel. Alright, I'm gonna partially stuff this with the extra little tail bit, and then I'm gonna add some fluff. Actually, no, I've got plenty of extras from the body. I might sew this on with red or black, actually, because that would look really cool. Okay, it's a little bit silly looking. Yeah, this is way... like, I've got to have made better horns than this. I don't know. I see. Once you stretch it out a little bit. What do y'all think? Should I sew it on with white, or should I sew it on like this with a different color of like red or black? I think I might sew it on with black, actually. I'm going to give a few seconds for any opinionated or thoughtful. Opinionated is a little bit of a bad connotation. Any thoughtful folks to answer, well, I take a drink break with my lovely mint tea. I'm also going to see if I have any black yarn here first. I've been working on Fraggies on the first floor, and we are currently on the second floor. And so this color is on the first floor, as is black. But we can cheat and take this little snippet from the beginning of a Batman. Boop. Okay, I'm gonna keep this and not cut it just in case I change my mind on sewing in black. Now I have run into a problem. Yes, black! Great. I'm glad that you think so, Tom. It is good to get affirmation. I've promised! No, this is not a big... Whoop. I'm also, I need to become a little bit more aware of the delay between when I say things and when y'all hear them. I'm pretty sure that's as simple as like looking in my OBS settings, but we got a tray here. Oh dear, oh dear, oh my. Yeah, I think the red for the base, or actually we could do black for the base of the... So many potential options to make this punk look punkier. It reminds me a little bit of Stitches, again, the Animal Crossing character, who is fairly easy to make in crochet, though I have never done it. So I might be speaking out of my butt. Because it is very like stitch based. Oh my god, I love it. This was a great call. Thank you for affirming my decisions. I'm gonna just move this behind the eye. Hopefully this won't give Fraggy vision problems later in life. Whoop. Oof. We've got a lot of leftover. This entire bucket is full. Goodness. Gotta make more plushies. Oh, that doesn't look great. That looks better. Okay. There it is. I think I will use black next time for the mane. And probably for the tail also. But there he is. There's a Fraggy. Oops. With one little snippet. Ha. Right. I am going to migrate all of the main colors back to the magic box of joy. And migrate. Oh, also, in case you missed it, here's the little red dragon. The unnamed, ungendered red dragon. I think with our remaining time, I gave Fraggy a mole! You know what? I feel like that feels right. Reference image time. Okay, this is gonna be a little Squirtle, for which I will need, obviously, a Squirtle shell. I will also need to write down the shell as I make it so that I don't forget. If we run out of time on stream, I am going to have to end it at 4 because my spouse has a meeting in here at 4. And the audio would be truly a nightmare on both ends. So Nope, not Bulbasaur. I've been told that my cues look funny. But you know what? That sounds like a them problem. Okay, so here's the actual shell part. And the outside's kind of like a lighter white, gray something. We'll just do white for now. We're gonna do a cool fun process called make it up as you go while guessing. Yeah, I'm also gonna need to figure out a tail, which is definitely not gonna happen on stream today, which is fine. But yeah, I've been doing this enough to where I get the, like, maybe I'll start with 4 stitches and then expand outward. Exactly. A problem for future Janity. You know me very well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah, and then if you start with fewer and expand, you get a little bit of like a instead of a flat round, like a more curved round, which is what you want from a turtle shell for an adorable little Pokemon. A friend sent me this absolutely bonkers image that I cannot show you because it is on my phone, which is presently right there. That is an AI Pokemon generator, which I think is the best thing I've ever seen. Just the concept of an AI Pokemon generator is fantastic. Yeah, it's truly something. But this particular image was gold. Am I already? Okay, yeah. I'm used to having a base of 5 or 6 stitches and not 4, and so my like inner rhythm is off. Okay, maybe we've made this I think I've made this shell a little too much of a, because now it just looks like a little thimble. We'll keep moving it out. Sorry, I'm not meaning to make y'all nervous by continuing to look at you. Just keeping an eye on the time so I can be conscientious. Aww, a lovely end to this song. The basketball kids are back. We have a basketball hoop on the end of our street, and some of the neighborhood kids are very into it. It's really, really sweet. There's such a strong variety of ages also. Boop. This is cute. Not gonna lie. So I think I'm going to do one final round of single crochet and then maybe a single crochet or slip stitch for the little like white border. And then I'm going to have to speed sew it on to make it to the end without obscuring future meetings. Okay, now the question is, Oh my gosh, it's a little backpack. Oh, I love Squirtle. There will be no room for a tail. Again, future Janity's issue. Let's pick up the white. Tie that together. Then add a little border. And I think there'll be enough time to sew this on. That way Squirtle can make it to the end of stream photo shoot, which is, of course, the most important part of the stream. So this is what slip stitches look like. I think it's perfect. So I'm going to keep doing it. Okay, and here's a fun little trick. Wah! There goes the other yarn. Sorry for that terrible noise. Once you reach the end, there's usually a little gap between the start and the ending stitch. But if you have a needle, you can do a fake start and ending stitch. So you notice how each of them is a little loop going to the next one. You just make a little loop going into the next one. Ta-da! And that's doable with things other than slip stitches, but those are not in our purview for today. As I sew, I'm going to begin my end of stream preamble. Postamble? Not sure. But many thanks to all who joined. It is always lovely to have folks here who are interested in hanging out. I have been doing this for almost a third of the year now, and I really, really like it, so thank you. Thank you all for being a part of it. Thanks also to those who have thoughtfully interacted with the Etsy strike and myself throughout this week. If you want more information about the Etsy strike specifically, there is a link in the description. If you want more thoughts from me as I've been reflecting throughout the week, all my socials are linked in the description, and every day this week I will / have, depending on whether the time has gone by, discuss a little aspect of my experience selling on the Etsy platform, just to give a little idea. Stream wrap, yeah, that's better than post whatever I said. So if you are so inclined, check that out. As you might imagine, my Etsy shop is closed for the week, so you'll not be able to shop there, but you will be able to shop on my Redbubble. And if you, I don't know, have your heart set on something that is handmade, like you absolutely need a red dragon or a Pikachu or what have you as soon as possible, I am available via direct message on all social medias, and I have a little contact form in the description as well. We'll make it happen. Okie dokie. We got 1 minute till 4. So I'm gonna bring back all of our... Oh, Fraggy goes in the middle because Fraggy is the coolest. All of our little buddies. Say cheese. I will pretend to be working. Thank you all very much for joining. All of the stream wrap up, as Thomas kindly named it, is complete. And there goes my alarm.